I'm Voodoo Whiskey Gaming, and this is my late review of The Suicide of Rachel Foster. I played it on the PC through Steam. It's also available on the Xbox One and PS4. Okay, let's get into the story of this game, which is... it's a thing, man. I literally just finished it. You play as Nicole Wilson. She is returning to a hotel that her family once owned because, well, both her parents are dead. It now belongs to her and she's trying to sell it. But she has to go through and, take an inventory of the place, remove her property, her father's property, etc. And over the course of this, she kind of gets trapped there because of a giant snowstorm. Fortunately for her, there's a guy named Irving from FEMA who reaches out to her, and the two of them start to get to know each other, and a mystery begins to unravel. And man, I'll tell you this, the ending is a thing, and there is an alternate ending, and that is also a thing. But I gotta say, I actually kind of liked the story for the most part. I won't say I was in love with the endings, though. But I can also understand them to an extent. And I will say the storytelling, it's kind of a roller coaster. It starts out pretty normal, then it gets kind of horror-ish, and then it gets to be what it is. Okay, so let's move onward into the audio, and the one thing I'm truly going to praise in this game is the sound effects. I think they were done phenomenally. As I mentioned, it begins to delve into horror, and the sound effects are really good, and they really help build that because you're in this big empty hotel by your lonesome, and it's old and creaking and just all these other weird noises, and it's really well done. The sound effects just blew me away from the very start of this game. As for the voice acting, I think it's pretty good. I'm not going to say it's amazing, but it's definitely better than I was expecting for this. I think the actress does a good job because she does have a range of emotions she has to cover, because when you first meet Nicole, she's really a bitch, and the actress does a great job, and then as she gets to know Irving, she lightens up. It gets better, and she adapts with it and changes with it and really breathes life into the character, and I think Irving, the voice actor behind him, did the same. As for the music, not super memorable, I'm gonna say. I really don't even remember the music. Was there even music? That's how unmemorable the music was. But let's get into the gameplay mechanics and whatnot, and this is, a walking simulator, or one of those games that you wander around a very large building, mostly walking. Yes, you can sprint, but it's not even a sprint, it's like power walking maybe. But obviously your goal is to explore and piece together the story, piece together the mystery. It is essentially a story-driven game. It really truly is, because everything you do is to push the story forward. And I will say it's actually very interesting because the place is much larger than it really needs to be for the sake of the story, which I think is really cool and impressive because it does build on, this being a real place. I will say, though, it is a very short experience. You can get through it in, I don't know, maybe 2-3 hours. If you actually know what you're doing, probably 2 hours, but there are definitely some times where they don't do a good job explaining to you where you need to go, which is when the size of the place does become a bit of a negative. But I like it for the world building element of it, because that size, the fact that they put the time in to build that hotel and make it as large as it was, I think that's actually really worth the time and effort in pretty much all games, just to make it feel like a real place. But it is pretty simple. There's really no puzzle solving going on. I think the exploration is well done, and I think the items that they do give you are well done and they work within it. I think it's overall, gameplay wise, as a walking game, walking simulator, it does a good job. Now, as for the controls are actually fine. They work very well. They don't need to be anything complicated. I'm happy with them. I don't have any complaints, don't have anything overly positive to say, because it's not like it was a really complicated game that needed a crazy scheme and it worked flawlessly. Not to say the controls didn't work flawlessly, it's just a very simple game, so the controls could be simple. Now let's get into the visuals. Again, I think they did a good job building this world. As I stated previously, the map itself is quite large and larger than it needs to be. And they put all these little details in there that make it seem like this old decrepit hotel. They really brought the hotel to life. you can clearly see that it's been neglected, and I think they did a very good job with that, because the hotel itself is basically a character, and you honestly see more of that character than you do of Nicole. But you do also get to see her effect on the hotel, especially in the master suite or whatever it was, which was basically her family's apartment once upon a time, and where she is residing during this snowstorm. Which I also want to say, when you look out the windows to see the storm, well done. Like, seeing the trees move and bend and all of that, I thought that was pretty well done. I think they did well with that. That being said, there are a few, not really cutscenes, but when you are interacting with objects, it cuts away from the first person perspective, and you get to see Nicole like pushing on them, interacting with them. Her hands look weird. They don't look quite right, which I understand hands are a very difficult thing to do well in video games, but I just, I'm gonna say it because it's there. But overall, I think they did a good job, because it's a first-person game in a limited space, and they did a great job bringing that space to life. Okay, so the wrap-up. I'm gonna say the endings, man. There are 2 endings, and I just don't know what to say about them. I don't want to spoil them, obviously, but they did kind of put me off to the rest of the experience. Which I gotta say, the rest of the experience was very interesting, because it is this roller coaster where it starts, kind of interesting, then it gets really crazy, weird, and interesting, and spooky. And then you get to the endings, and I don't know, I didn't really love either of them. And for such a short experience, I think it's about $20. I gotta say, with the endings being what they were, I don't know that I would recommend this game. Like, I'm sitting here thinking, would I sit there and just, text one of my buddies and be like, hey, go check out this game, you'd really dig it. I don't have anyone that I would do that with. I don't think I would. So I guess I'm gonna say, you can skip it. If you're super duper curious, wait till it's on like a really hefty Steam sale. Pick it up for a few bucks, then check it out. But with how short it is, with only 2 endings, for the price, I gotta say you can skip it. Okay, so in the comments down below, why don't you tell me what's your favorite walking simulator? I've never really enjoyed that name for them. I understand it, but I don't like it. As always, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please hit that like button. And if you like what I'm doing in general, share and subscribe. Have a good one.